We're going to talk about something that's kind of complicated right now, and that's called a price ceiling. So if you are confused, please stop, rewind, listen to it again. And if you still are confused, please come see me and we can have some direct instruction time. So a price ceiling is the topmost price that something can be charged. And you're going to notice that it is below equilibrium because here, equilibrium is at $1,500 and four supplied. So let's talk about rent control because that's an example of a pricing. So, the market, like when you go to decide where you want to rent an apartment, you have to be willing to pay the price that the landlord is willing to rent the apartment out, and that would be equilibrium. So, at $1,500, there are four apartments, and let's say that $1,500 is your max budget. So, that is where you're demanding it. So, you have to look for the apartments that are supplied at $1,500. So, let's say there are four. All right. So let's say that the government put a control in place so that the top rent would be $1,000. So you can see that the suppliers clearly are not willing to supply as many apartments at $1,000 that they were at $1,500. And clearly you can tell that demand goes up as the price goes down. So there are more apartments demanded at $1,000 than are supplied. So that creates a housing shortage. So, in other words, any apartment that goes up to $1,000, for example, where they have the rent control, is legal. But anything, and that's called the price ceiling, but anything above that for that price ceiling apartment or rent controlled apartment is illegal. So let me give you a for instance here. Rent control is something that was used predominantly after World War II so that we could have affordable housing for people that were returning from serving in our military. So in New York City, for example, they had a lot of apartments that were rent controlled. So that meant the landlord could not increase the price of the apartment. So let's say that the city set it at $1,000. Well, if I had my grandfather had rented that apartment and then he and my mom grew up there and then I grew up there and now it's my apartment, it's still $1,000 because it's never gone back out on the market so that it would have the chance for the price of that to rise. Now, I could have that apartment for $1,000, but the next apartment over is probably at $1,500 because that's what the market will bear out. And so it creates a housing shortage, and landlords are not all about rent controlled apartments because they are not making as much money. So, again, when there is a price ceiling, it creates a shortage.